Hey everyone, welcome back. Here's another installment of Revolutions, the ongoing diary of my spins. You know how it works after all this time, about 20 records in about 30 minutes, give or take. And it's Sunday morning, it's around 11 o'clock. I always play classical music on Sunday, and I start with this today, the last recital by Dinu Lipati. Um, of note, Dinu Lipati was a student under the care of Nadia Boulanger, maybe the greatest classical music teacher of the 20th century. She notably schooled Philip Glass, Aaron Copland was one of his students, Quincy Jones, and this guy here, very sensitive, very subtle and dedicated student of notably Bach, but not just Mozart. He had Schubert, Chopin, the goats of classical music, really. And this was recorded in Besançon, which is where I come from. Well, it's near where I come from. It's the main city from the region I come from. So it's kind of an interesting sub note. But I would highly recommend this recording. It's just a lovely thing to start with on a Sunday morning. This video will be divided into two sections roughly. Jazz, which is half of the records I've got on my feed there, and the other one, which I will subtitle Weird Shit. Okay. Some jazz records. So yesterday, my mate Amos, who is a record nerd like this guy here, came here for a session. I love having listening sessions because they're the best times to appreciate, talk about records, shoot the shit, exchange thoughts, such as Amnesiac is the greatest album by Radiohead. For example, that wasn't these weren't my words. I'm just quoting. But we had a great time, and I just pulled out a whole lot of records. Some of those are from what we played yesterday. Some of the records I played yesterday. So, for example, this one, I spun this record yesterday morning. I was talking to Romuald, French Final Addict, and I was telling him about some ECM records that I highly rate, and this is one of them. The Ultimate ECM Power Trio, John Abercrombie, Dave Holland, Jacques Dijonette. It's like a Jimi Hendrix experience of ECM, basically. This record is so damn good. It's every time I listen to this, every so often I just put it out just to remind me, how brilliant this trio is. They really make I mean, the soloing by John Abercrombie is astounding on this. If you want a good example of his chops, this record here, 1975 on ECM. The next one that the next one here is this wonderful, beautiful Gary Peacock record, December Poems. So this is a solo Gary Peacock record, largely. It's got mostly him overdubbing himself on bass. So most of the time you hear two basses, one being the sort of the rhythmic structure of the piece, and then he will do some solos over the top of it. And there are a few tracks where Mr. Jan Garbarek and his icy tones come up. There's a little bit of keyboards here and there, which is uncredited. I'm just guessing it's Gary Peacock playing the keyboards. I bought this record for really super cheap, like about a week ago, in one of the local shops in Melbourne. It was super cheap, and I thought I'll just give it a chance. And I've really been enjoying this record, 1979. It's a solo double bass record, basically, more or less. But I spun side two, well, yesterday with my mate, side two of the Jewel in the Lotus, one of the most highly rated titles on the early ECM. It's ECM 1043, so it's the 43rd release. Now, this record is often super hyped because, well, it's atypical of ECM. It's kind of like a modal spiritual jazz record. Benny Maupin obviously was in the Mwandishi band with Herbie Hancock. He also played along with Miles Davis in the Electric Miles period. It's a wonderful kind of subdued spiritual jazz record, but it's probably not as good as what it's made out to be because of its just amazing sleeve, and it's got cult status. In my opinion, this is just my opinion. Obviously, you can disagree, but I feel this record has a greater reputation surrounding its aura rather than what the music actually does. Here's Cheap Heat 101. This record is killer, back to front. This is Dizzy Gillespie, the source on the fantastic America records. One of the best French jazz records ever. Look at this label to start with. They released a whole lot of great American players and European players as well. This here has got, the cast is amazing. Dizzy Gillespie on trumpet, obviously. Kenny Drew, Nils Henning on Ørsted Peterson, Kenny Clark, Jenny Griffin. If you so much as spend 5 minutes listening to Manteca, or 13 minutes for the matter, your mind will be totally blown. This is from 1973. It's a scorching jazz funk, not jazz funk, but I'd say funky jazz, Latin jazz workout. Amazing record. Actually, on America, I also spun the other day another record which I forgot to include in this listing here, but I'm gonna pull it out because I really enjoy that too. I spun this on America as well. Black Gypsy by Archie Shepp and Chicago Bow. Chicago Bow does the vocals there, a few vocals. There's a lovely bit of harmonica playing on this, which shouldn't work, but is absolutely terrific. The lineup on this is just amazing. Look at this: Archie Shepp, Sonny Murray, Clifford Thornton. You've got Noah Howard on alto sax, Leroy Jenkins on viola, Dave Burrell. I mean, that's just an incredible lineup. Also on the Great America label. This is a killer free jazz, avant-garde jazz record. If you've never heard it, I would very much recommend. Also in America. Continuing with a great record that I revisited from my shelves, the great Randy Weston, Blue Moses, on CTI. Check out that sleeve to start with. I mean, CTI really had an art direction which really appealed to me personally. Jazz snobs find CTI to be a very mediocre label. Some CTI releases are very cookie cutter jazz, I agree, but there are some which I absolutely adore, and I probably have 20-ish really amazing CTI releases that I treasure, I would keep forever really, and this is one of them. A great cast. Randy Weston is a electric piano player, and he's got a support cast of Freddie Hubbard, Billy Cobham, Ron Carter, Airto Moreira, Grover Washington Jr., Hubert Laws, amongst others, and plenty of other musicians that make the horn section on this. Inspired by Iganawa music, which is devotional music from Morocco, which is taken as the sort of lead inspiration tracks like Night in Medina or Marrakesh Blues, or one is called literally Gnawa, Blue Moses. I was just marveling yesterday. I was listening to Marrakesh Blues, which is the last track, 12 minutes, 18 seconds of this kind of funky electric piano workout, super tight drums, just an amazing kind of sort of, you can get lost in track. If you've never heard Blue Moses, I mean, it's never too late. It's a great release. And since we're talking about funky and drums and amazing keys playing, this here is a banger as well. Rhoda Scott live at the Club Saint-Germain. So Rhoda Scott, she was a Hammond organ virtuoso. You could say that she, if you like people like Jimmy Smith or Larry Young, or people who can really bring up a groove on the organ, or John Patton, for example, this is for you, because this is really, in France, these are very cheaply attained. And I think if you go on Discogs, she does this version of Also sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss. She does this version of her and the drummer. It is just jaw-dropping. This the groove they get on it is it's an amazing piece of music. And then there's a sax player who is very gifted indeed. Like, I love the combo of sax, drums, and Hammond. Yeah, I think that was recorded in 1971 or 70 thereabouts. The last track, Slipping into Darkness, wore 18 minutes 30 seconds. A real mind blower as well. The straight, completely different style. The straight horn of Steve Lacy. So again, that we've gone from like funky workouts, organ grind and swing type of sort of stuff that the Beastie Boys would sample, to sort of post bop. A really lovely record, very airy and light and subtle, gentle record, with obviously Steve Lacy on his soprano sax. So this very sort of like thin sound, but in saying this, very full at the same time. And the great Roy Haynes on drums, who is one of the greatest to ever do it. He does tracks by Monk mostly. You've got Introspection, you've got Play Twice, and you've got Crisscross by Monk. There's also a great version of Donnelly by Charlie Parker, which is also instantly one of my favorite things that Jaco Pastorius ever did on the bass. Amazing record from 1960-ish. I don't know. I can't remember the date of this. You can look it up. More jazz, but this time we're going into a fusion mode. A delicious trio of Mr. Don Cherry, Colin Walcott, and Nana Vasconcelos. I mean, you're probably aware of Cardona. Cardona was this project that was fusing world music, loosely, and jazz, ethno fusion. Colin Walcott plays the sitar, the dulcimer, the sansa, the tabla, and vocals, and you got Don Cherry on organ and trumpet, and then Vasconcelos on berimbau and percussion. Number one is amazing, and number three is also really worthy. I've never really got into number two, but if ever that's your thing, you could investigate. Next, a wonderful double bass record. François Rabat, French Egyptian double bass player, virtuoso really. And I say to people, if you run out of Henri Texier records to listen to, next step along the road is François Rabat, because the style is somewhat similar, but he has a more sort of Middle Eastern approach to his playing. On this, he plays the double bass with a bow, and also plucked double bass like it's normal, like the way it's meant to be played. And he's accompanied by a group of percussionists, including Bernard Lubat, one of the greatest French drummers, jazz drummers, Yves Legrand, and on organ he has Christian Vander. No, sorry, Maurice Vander, the father of Christian Vander from Magma. And there's an appearance here of Christian Garros, who is in the Jacques Lussier trio. So very sort of a bunch of really amazing French jazz musicians. We played the first track yesterday, L'Odyssée pour l'eau, which starts really soft, and you feel like it's going to develop into this kind of ambient type of track, But then the drums, percussions kick in. There's tablas and all sorts of really lively, bright percussion, and it just becomes this really amazing workout. Very, very dense, very dynamic, very just in your face. This record is not really super expensive to get still. I don't believe it is. I haven't checked on Discogs, but I know that each record is not as highly rated as Henri Texier, and I think that's a shame, because I think it's just as good in many ways, so you can check that out. I've had this for years and years, but I don't know. I don't know where they're worth now, because I'm not trying to buy any. And in the same, no, not in the same vein, but from the same region of the world, Renette Loranez. So Renette Loranez was an Algerian singer. She became blind age 2, but she was kind of a child prodigy. She still learned how to read and write. By age 8, she was very accomplished, and found a talent because of a blindness, I guess. Found a more acute ear for music. That's what's supposed to happen when you lose one of your senses. The others become stronger. And started duetting with a husband in the 1920s or 1930s. And then in 1961 relocated to France. And this is music that is musique arabo-andalouse, so music from North Africa and Andalusia, which is the southern part of Spain. So it's got that sort of mix of influences. This came out in 1988 and has the amazing Mustafa Skandrani, also Algerian pianist, who plays these really wonderful Algerian scales on this. It really is a wonderful, wonderful record. It just is an Algerian folk music record with piano in the back as a backdrop. Okay, moving on to the section called Weird Shit. With a mix of things. Some rock things, some whatever, you'll see. I played this Nico album, The End, which I consider part of a sort of a trilogy with Desert Shore and the Marble Index, although the previous two were on Elektra, and this is on Island Records. So, but this is as doomy, and it kind of a doom trilogy, or Neil Young as a ditch trilogy, with On the Beach and those records. So I feel this is in the same vein where it gets really miserable and really unfulfilled kind of. She was too many drugs. That's the problem with Nico. Nico was a hardcore heroin addict, and I think you can feel that on the records. There's this despair and cry for help, I guess. We've got Manzanera, Eno, John Kell on this stuff. So the cast is obviously flawless. It's got the version of The End by the Doors, which is heart wrenching, really. I very highly recommend this. Here is a record um, I've just repurchased because of freaking Stunty. It's a record I used to have. So Matt Johnson is the sole leader and identity of the a group who I love. I mean, it's not a group; it's just Matt Johnson. Before he was the he was just known as Matt Johnson, and recorded his first album on the 4AD label. It has a really beautiful swirl at the front. I used to have that record years ago, and I didn't play it a whole lot, and so I sold it. I got good money for it. And I was just talking in a live stream with Stunty, and he pulled it out, and I thought, and he just brainwashed me into buying it again. I'm going to be honest. I found a copy for $20. So, like this is basically the later repress of it, still on 480, and I tend to agree. It's maybe when I had it back years and years ago, maybe my mind wasn't ready for it, or I don't know. You know how it is sometimes with records that you have, but you're not in the place to appreciate them. So I happily spend $20 in reacquiring it. Sounds great, and it's a very experimental phase of the. When you listen to the, it's very sort of polished pop music, especially like soul mining is like it's like 80s pop, very very well constructed, produced. Like all the songs are so catchy, and this is you can see why it's on 4AD. It's got this DIY ethos pervading through. But I'm glad to have and if you've never heard this record, I strongly suggest that you buy it. Okay, a completely different way. Last week I was talking about Ark of a Diver, and I said it was the first record by Steve Winwood. It's omitting this record here, which I'd totally forgotten that I even had, because it's filed in another section of my collection. So, because Ark of Diver is in my sort of like post-punk new wave, I don't know why, and this one is in a section that I call Blue Eye Soul and Yacht Rock. Yes, I do have a section called that. And it is a blue-eyed soul record, through and through. It's an amazing record, this record, 1977. Just the first 3 songs worth the price of admission alone. This is a record you can buy for $5 anywhere. It's cheap heat, 101. It's funky, it's melodic, it's got, it's very soulful. Yeah, it's Blue Eye Soul at its finest. Steve Winwood, formerly of Traffic, as you know. Okay, I also played this. I don't know if I've talked about this record in a former video. One of my viewers, I made a video about minimalism a while back. One of the viewers put a comment under in the comment section and said, "Have you ever heard Poem Musia by Pep Lopez?" And I said, "Well, no, I haven't." And the comment was so enthusiastic about this that I went on Discogs and checked, and lo and behold, there was a copy of this record. This is the reissue, obviously, on Freedom to Spend, because the original is, well, out of my reach at the moment. But there was a copy on Discogs Australia for, I think, $30 or $40, which here is like, it's cheap for a record. I mean, for us, when you say $30, it's a really cheap record. You gotta, because maybe if you live in the US or in Canada or something, and you think $30, that might be for us. It's a cheap record. So it was a seller on Discogs, and I bought a couple of things from him. It was a while back. I have had this for a month or 2 or something. So it's To be frank, I hadn't even listened to the record when I bought it. I just went by the comment that the guy wrote. Then I saw a cheap copy, and I just pulled the trigger straight away. I thought I'm not gonna wait because there was only one copy. This is amazing. This is full on amazing. It's like a it's very much like a Philip Glass record. It's got a very much Philip Glass sound aesthetic, especially in the use of the repetition and the sounds used to create those loops. You'd swear that Philip Glass was playing on this record. That's not a bad thing. And there's poems in, I think, Catalan. I think it's Catalan. I don't think it's Spanish. In Catalan, I sung over it. I sort of recited over it. This is from 1981, I think, or 82 or something. It's a mind blower. I told you weird shit. Yesterday with my buddy Amos, we spun this wonderful DK record. DK is a French electronic producer. Gate of Enlightenment. This came out in 2021 on Worship. So what I describe this as is an electronic John Hassel record. So if you like John Hassel, this is very much fourth world, but it's all done on a laptop, basically. Like it's him just like fucking around on a laptop and making these sounds, very earthy, very tribal sounding, but wonderful. You might be able to two or three electronic amazing pieces. This is a classic industrial electronic post-punk record from Australia, from Sydney. This is the makers of the Dead Travel Fast, band that put out 2 albums in the late 70s, early 80s, and 2 singles. All of them are super collectible. This is not a cheap record by any means. Anywhere you find it, it'll be a $200, $300, $400, $500 record, $500 record. But I mean, hopefully they reissue this stuff. I don't know if they will. It's engineered by Scattered Order. Scattered Order is a sort of a Cabaret Voltaire-esque band from Sydney, along with like bands like the Severed Heads. They formed that kind of scene of the late 70s, early 80s, and where they merged pop music with, electronic and industrial music. I think closely related, you could put also SPK in that kind of sort of time vacuum. But The Vessels is amazing. If you like Cabaret Voltaire, if you like, it's got a bit of a early Human League feel about it as well. And obviously stuff like Coil or Throbbing Gristle will come to mind as well. Another electronic masterpiece, this one is much more easily attainable, is Patrick Cowley, Muscle Up. This is wonderful. It's supposed to be, you can see it, the picture, this picture at the front it brings all sorts of confusion in my mind. But so like he made soundtracks for adult movies in the 70s. So he died in 1982. He's a sort of a mercurial genius, Patrick Cowley. He was a wunderkind, really. He just a absolute studio wizard. He sat and just worked out, really amazing cosmic tunes, which go from high energy to more like cosmic, even these are Berlin School-esque. And on this, yesterday I was spinning the Jungle Dream. My God, this is one of the most incredible, mesmerizing, slow building, cosmic tunes with jungle noises. Like you've got bird sounds, but it's so, it just takes you into a universe it's just magical. It's just beguiling music. This was reissued by Dark Entries, and they reissued quite a lot of his catalog. If you don't know where to start with Patrick Kelly, this is a good start. It's a beautiful album. Um, Inside there are pictures of said adult movies. So if you're shocked by that, maybe not. um, Another synth wizardry type of record is this record, "The Secret Life of Plants" by Stevie Wonder. It's this kind of vanity project, I guess. It's a soundtrack for a movie. I mean, it's a beautiful package to start with. I mean, it's just amazing. And look at the great man. I mean, Stevie Wonder almost can't do any wrong for me. Like, I just feel that, you know, all these 70s records are just mind blowing. I mean, I was playing also this the other day. Hang on, where is it? I just pulled that. This, which I was reminded of the brilliance of this record. It's incredible. But this here is a record that is probably living off a bad reputation of being this kind of folly double LP of electronic meets soul music, but it really is an experimental record in every way, every sense of the term. So if you've got an open mind and you want to experience Stevie Wonder, the experimental side of, I think like the first couple of tracks are just kind of amazing. Earth Creation, First Garden, Voyage to India with its like sitars in the background. It's a folly, but it's a good folly. It's Stevie Wonder's version of Neil Young's trance. You know, when Neil Young put out this record with vocoders, that's it. And you know what? That made me take out listening to this made me take this out as well because I was thinking plants. So this is Plantasia by Maud Garson, music to make plants grow, and this is the a journey through the secret life of plants. So I thought, you know, like it'd be cool to actually listen to them together in sort of parallel to, you know, to trip at. This week I also took out my copy of Kinaxis by Olga Tsukai and Rolf Dammers, one of the first sort of Can side projects, 1968. And this I pulled out because, you know, I was on a live stream with Stunty and he talked about this record, and I've had this for years and years. I don't even know when I bought this really, but it is a very trippy experimental record, and it was cool to actually revisit. I've just forgotten totally what it sounded like, but I will re-spin this again in the coming weeks and get more re-familiarized with this. But it's sort of kind of a blueprint on things like My Life in the Bush of Ghosts and things like that appeared later. You know, you can tell that this would have had an influence on musicians back in the day. Kinaxis. And the last record I have here for you is this superb Maghreb Cassette Club. K7 is cassette, which is cassette, you know. That's how we abbreviate the word cassette in French. Cassette, yeah, you see that? So this was put out by Bongo Joe and Surfer Records, which are labeled, well, Surfer Records is a record store in Lyon, in France. There we go. And the story starts with Lyon, 1985. So these are bands that worked and recorded in the Lyon area, but played rye. So synth rye, shawi, and Stevie, which are three sort of genres of 80s Algerian pop music. This is so much fun. Although if you hate Jean-Michel Jarre, there's a track that uses Oxygen as its kind of backing track. It's kind of, I don't know how they got away with it. It's very very amusing to listen to it in that way. Beautiful compilation, recommended to me by one of my viewers, because I was talking about Rye the other day, and one of my viewers said, oh, you know, this great comp, and I found this for super cheap in a licorice pie in Melbourne. So I just pounced on it like the record hunting tiger that I am. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and hope you enjoyed. Love you all, and take care.